Hello and welcome to the 31st episode of the We All Serve podcast. I am here with my brother and friend, Angel Torres. Angel, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. I had a very character building week.
Character building week. So let's talk about that. What does a character building week mean for Angel Torres?
A character building week means you talk to companies and interact with organizations that are intentionally inauthentic, and they tell you that we're all about hiring veterans and doing all this stuff, and they're just there to wave the flag, man. They don't really mean it, and it's like what I'm finding a lot of veterans feel like is they don't fit in. Like if they come in, they're not the they don't have 3 years of as a teller at Chase Bank, so you can't work at Wells Fargo or you can't work there. And these talent acquisition people are just lazy. I'll say it, they're lazy, and in a lot of cases, and they don't want to do the deep dive, and they don't want to ask, which is kind of catalyst for why I do what I do. But still seeing it around and seeing veterans struggle just really just annoys the crap out of me. And it's just, it's in finance, it's in consulting. You can have 2-3 degrees, and the consultant's like, well, you're not a 23, 24-year-old guy out of an MBA program, so maybe you're not going to fit for us, or you don't have a PhD in biochemical engineering, so maybe we can't use you on this project or any other. So they don't even give you the wig in the door. And I just see it in the marketplace, and it just frustrates the tar out of me. So it drives me to work harder to work with companies that do get it and want to make a change.
Well, that's why you're so good, because you actually care. You actually care, and I mean that. It is ridiculous. I actually am literally coming now and just had an interesting conversation where folks, I know you have successfully transitioned from serving active duty into a civilian sector. I come from the mindset, being a reservist, and I see all the time the complete lack of support of reserve component.
Oh yeah,
soldiers, sailors, airmen, fill in the blank, guardians, and you throw the guardians piece in. I don't think there's reserve guardians yet at this point in the Space Force.
All the guardians are in Washington storming the Capitol. Too soon.
I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to respond.
They were great. They were protecting the Capitol.
There we go. No, but it's there's a complete lack of understanding that exists, and it's a challenge. So I mean, that's I know what we set out to do: have these conversations, introduce our listeners to amazing people, and our guest is a fella that. Well, I'll bring him on the screen in a second. But Steve Drum, who this is long overdue. We're 31 episodes, and frankly, he should have been episode like number 2 or 3. That's not to downplay who we had at 2 or 3. I don't remember who they were. I do remember number 1. And Steve kindly enough mentored me as a junior officer and talking to me about some of the things, how to succeed in a relationship with my enlisted counterparts, and that advice has served me well, will continue to serve me well, and I aim to pay it forward. So how did you and Steve meet?
Steve was transitioning from the Navy and around the same time that I was. And we went to a couple of different events, like Veteran Leadership Council events and Elite Meet events. And there are these veteran service organizations that focus on providing resources to military veterans, and give them access to corporations that authentically want to value and utilize their skill sets and their leadership. And we met, and it just clicked. And I was like, "Hey, what are you going through right now?" And he called me, "Hey, what are you going through right now?" And we just kind of kept that relationship going, and always been supporting each other. And now, when we both kind of ran our own businesses, we bounce ideas off each other all the time, because one, we're both in the Navy. 2, we were both chiefs at one time. And he was a master chief, I was a senior chief, and then I went to the dark side. But it's just sometimes you just run into these people and you're like, dude, they get it. They just get it. They're good to go. And the fact that what you're telling me about how Steve grabbed you as a JO, junior officer, and said, come here, let me show you what's up. That not everybody gets that, and not everybody receives that kind of mentorship and development. And you're lucky. You're one of the lucky ones. You really are, because some senior enlisted, they might not do that, and they might not want to spend time with someone that's a little more seasoned or reservist, and is a junior officer, and he just understands the big picture of things.
Yeah. And well, I'm scared that we're embarrassing Steve over here, and he's going to blush and he's going to run away because we're complimenting him too.
Can he hear us?
I saw the smile at the bottom of my screen over there.
I hate his hair. That son of a bitch. I'm so jealous.
Well, let me formally introduce our guest. Stephen Drum is a combat-tested, retired Navy SEAL Master Chief who has 27 years of experience leading and developing high-performance teams. He's an in-demand speaker and consultant, and helps develop leadership and performance strategies. He's trained and led U.S. and foreign partner special operations force on high-risk and strategically vital missions across the globe, including combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he recently co-developed and taught warrior toughness training for the United States Navy. This vital program fundamentally changed the culture of the Navy and how it trains and prepares young sailors and officers for the stress of intense combat operations. Through his Navy career, Steve has personally trained thousands of elite military soldiers and Navy SEAL candidates, helping them succeed in severe training courses and overseas combat operations. Before we jump into some very important topics, I'm going to start really hard and heavy over here. And this is a question actually for both of you, for both Angel and Steve. Who won the Army-Navy game this year?
Who cares?
I think my text speaks for it all. That's some officer stuff that I don't really care about. I didn't go to the Naval Academy, so we'll leave that to them.
Okay.
I was in a goat locker when that shit was going down.
Steve, it's fun to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much, guys, and thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you for kind of really fighting the good fight in terms of advocating for our veterans out there to try to gain meaningful employment. And I know oftentimes it seems like an uphill battle as we face a certain kind of, not necessarily stigmas, but misconceptions in terms of, how we can be, a benefit or detractor in an organization in terms of like, hey, we bring somebody from the military into our organization. They got to listen to us, in the military because we got a rank on our collar, right? Or we're only used to being able to follow under a hierarchical type of leadership model. And when we realize that's really not the case, right? Great leaders are great leaders. You follow the woman, you follow the man, you don't follow the rank. If that's in the military is no different than that in terms of communications, especially like in military special operations, is we're used to uncertainty. We're used to having to be able to execute with speed and agility and execute contingency plans and being able to pivot, right? And so in terms of, us providing solutions to problems, it's because we're inherently creative. And I think organizations that recognize that, right? I think you guys are familiar with Project Relo, which pairs veterans with business executives to say, hey, it's great if you want to be patriotic and want to hire veterans for that purpose. But really, what we want to do is articulate how they are an added benefit to your organization, how they are really they've been learning leadership from day one in their military career, and they can really help level up your organization. It kind of puts it
in their face too. And that's what I loved about it. Like just watching the executives, like watch the military guys go at it and going, whoa, I don't want to hire. This isn't a hero. This is an asset. I need to hire the asset.
That's exactly right, Angel. Yeah. So thank you for doing what you're doing. It's important work.
Thanks. We're talking about some of the things, how we met, and Project Relo's, we're both alum of Project Relo, and it's an organization. Matter of fact, I'm talking to their new CEO tomorrow, their new chairman, Ron Schwartz. and such a great time. I mean, Shalom, I don't know if you're familiar with this organization, but you get there, they give you a helmet, they give you a doom buggy and a battle buddy, and away you go.
Well, shout out to our, I know all of our mutual friends, Jim Vasilopoulos, for because he was the one that introduced. Actually, he was the one that introduced me to Project Relo,
and me.
I think, yeah, there we go. Yeah, Jim's awesome.
Everybody knows Jim.
Yeah, everybody knows Jim.
Jumped out of a plane with the guy. It was fun.
Yeah,
you were the guy that took him on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
he was excited about that. He goes, I can't talk to you right now, man. I'm getting ready to jump out of a plane.
Yeah, we had fun. We had fun.
Who do you owe money? Who do you owe money to, man?
Oh man, good times. No, so I know I'm in good company because we got to have Jim. Jim is a perfect example of somebody that has not put on the uniform, but man, he exemplifies. We all serve.
He does.
I mean, to the time.
absolutely.
Yeah, me and Steve will Steve and I'll tag team him. Steve, I want to talk about, if you don't mind me, Shalom, I'm going to jump right in. When you were getting ready to transition and move out of the military, your path took you to be an entrepreneur, and mine was I call myself the most unlikely entrepreneur in the world, and trying to figure out where you fit in, what you wanted to do, who you wanted to be, what company would value your talent, skill set. You didn't want to be pigeonholed, I'm sure, like the rest of us. Like, you didn't want to say, well, you're going to do this in this little square box, and you're going to do this after having a whole career of being like you mentioned, agile and diverse and just dynamic. What kind of drove you, and what keeps you up, motivated to? Because it's a grind, dude. It is a grind to be an entrepreneur and drive your business every day. What motivates you, and what drove you to it?
Yeah, I would definitely echo your sentiment in terms of being the reluctant entrepreneur. You finish 27 years in the military as I did, and I'm not gonna be honest. I wanted a level of freedom, right? I wanted to just pivot and do something completely different. I knew that for me personally, I didn't have it in me to get on a train every day and ride into the city or go work in a cubicle somewhere. I needed to do something, and I really sat back and said, what do I really enjoy doing? And I look back at my career, and again, I've said this before, I enjoyed the door kicking in and the combat operations and things like that. But in terms of where I really felt like I added value to the Navy, to the organizations in which I worked with, what was in the training and developing of people, whether it's training people for specific tactics or it's developing, junior enlisted guys, officers, for me to see them grow and develop, and for me to be part of helping them get recognized, things like that. Those were the things that kind of really brought me a lot of satisfaction. So I said, if I can take that in some kind of capacity and, get in front of people and run my mouth a little bit, right. And also try to give them content that'll help maybe, change their lives to some degree, then that's what I want to do. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And when all else fails, I simply try to say, okay, I'm here to try to put value out to people in some way, shape, or form. And, if people are going to pay me for it, and that's great. Right. So, but either way, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's tough because in a way we're a lot alike in that we both started different businesses that were unlike anything that anyone else was doing. Like when you talk about your the warrior toughness piece, no one's doing that. That's your baby. And with the V solution, nobody's doing. And it's just so challenging to craft that.
Yeah, it is, and I think there's a lot of people that are swimming in the lane I'm swimming in terms of, former military guys, former Navy SEALs out there telling their story and this and that. And so, yeah, I've worked hard to try to develop content that recognizes, the similarities that we have, the common experience that we have, but also try to say, all right, well, here's something that's going to be prescriptive. Here's how I'm going to translate extreme examples from my experience and use them for specific lessons and strategies and tools for you to use and you and your organization to use to do some very specific things to perform in those moments in your life that matter the most. Yeah.
So, Steve, Angela always starts at the end, which not the end. I mean, we'll talk more about the impact that you're continuing to have, and I know disclaimer or shout out, we're going to talk about a book that's being worked on. But I want to go back actually to the beginning. So 27 years, I think, I said in your bio in the Navy. Why did you join? What caused you to walk into a recruiter's office and join the United States Navy, and how did that journey begin?
Yeah, I always knew since I was very young that I held military service in very high regard, and I looked up to like the special operators, the Green Berets, and the Vietnam SEALs, Force Recon guys in Vietnam, and I'm like, those were my heroes. Those were the guys that I idolized, right? And I knew, that in some way I wanted to kind of serve. I wasn't quite sure exactly what route I was going to take. At some point, I wanted to try to get a commission. And I knew kind of my academics weren't very strong. And I sat there, and my uncle, who's aviation helmet, Navy helmet behind me, he was very influential in my path, right? And he was kind of like, all right, well, you could go to college and but if your heart's not in it, you're not ready, you may be better off just chasing your dream, which is at that point to be a SEAL by the time I was like halfway through high school. And so that's
that early, huh?
Yeah. Wow. I enlisted, and it's pretty much the fall after I got out, and I knew I wanted to be a SEAL. I wanted to test myself. I still wanted to serve. But a lot of it was about what I had to prove to myself, if I could be quite honest, right? It was very much kind of me. And then as you go through, and then as you step back and you look around at the guys that you're serving with, and so I never had been around people that they were this awesome, right? And I'm like, I want to be here. I want to be in this family. And so that's kind of what inspired me to see it through some very difficult selection training, and as well as to stay on as long as I did. It was about the people that I was serving with.
It's awesome. And can we just share some more admiration? We've talked about Jim Vesalopoulos. Can we talk about this fellow over here, Larry Kaufman, and how awesome he is? Thank you for tuning in, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
We are all co-presidents of the Steve Drum fan club. So there we go.
Yeah. I think Larry's actually who connected us, Shalom.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Larry. And he continues to know and connect virtually everyone. So yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. We Steve and I know a guy, a warrant officer I went to school with in Rhode Island, and his name's Ron Mars. Do you know Ron?
Yeah, I hadn't talked to him in a long, long time, but
just the neatest story, and it's kind of relevant here because it kind of triggered something that you said. Ron, when I met him, he came as an ET, electronics technician on carriers, and someone told him, you need to be a diver. And he's like, okay. But then the diver goes, and the SEAL goes, no. You want to be the man, you need to be a SEAL. So he goes to become a SEAL. He's like, no. You want to, it was first the Navy, then the diver, then the SEAL. If you're the man, you want to be the man, you'll be the SEAL. And then he gets to the teams and does a couple tours in the teams. No. If you really want to be the man, you're going to go to DevGru. And then he went to DevGru. He was like, I'm just wondering when the heck I'm going to be the man.
Well, he is the man. He's very, very well respected, very, very capable guy. So, yeah.
Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. It was great to know him. But so I'm going to go back. So you knew you wanted to be a SEAL. By the way, didn't the first Navy SEAL just pass away like last week? It was like a 90-year-old guy just passed away last week.
Yeah, I saw some traffic on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you pass start? You started out, obviously you went to San Diego. And
yeah, so I always tell the story. I am so bad at math, but really good at English and stuff like that. So it's a combination of a couple scores on the, as you guys know, the Armed Service, ASVAB, Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery, right? I think that's what that stands for.
Your AR and your VE was high enough. That's what I remember.
Yeah, my math, my AR, my arithmetic reasoning sucks. And so I show up there. They're like, "Oh, you'll get a waiver." And dummy that I was, I believed them. Long story short, I end up in Groton, Connecticut, working on fast attack submarines at a shore facility as a hull maintenance technician, right? Which was better than actually going out on a ship with that job, right? Being a plumber on a ship is some pretty nasty work. And so I did that. But, and I was having a conversation with my mother the other day, and we're looking back, and I'm like, had I gone right out of high school, had I gone right to Bud SEAL training, I likely wasn't mature enough. I wasn't physically prepared enough. And so those 2 years I fell in with a good mentor, a former SEAL up in Connecticut, and he trained a bunch of us, and I got stronger, faster, smarter, more mature. And ultimately I think that it was a benefit to me.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool. And it made you hungry, whereas if you would have gone to Bud's, you probably would have just, pre-Hell Week or something and just kind of rolled out. But you already knew what the hell was going to happen, huh?
Yeah, I got a taste of the Navy and knew that it wasn't for me.
It wasn't for Shalom either.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No, I'm happy with my Army life. It's all good. So, Steve, I always ask this question of all of our guests. Is there anybody that you can point to in your time in uniform, best friend, greatest mentor?
I think whether we're talking about childhood, you're kind of born again into a new family, right? When you join the military, you're wide-eyed, you don't know anything. And, I always look back at the guy, I've told this story before about how you show up as a new guy back in the day in the 90s. Not that I had it that bad compared to a lot of guys, but, show up in the 90s in the East Coast SEAL Team 2 is where I started. And, it's not the most hospitable place, right? I mean, as a new guy, you're going to face some abuse, some, again, worse than others. And everybody's just pretty much just, hammering at you, right? Or, just because you're supposed to be humble. You're supposed to have your ears open and your mouth shut. And there was one guy, though, that named Neil Roberts, who would always be the guy. It's like, all right, come with me. I'm not going to just screw with you. I'm actually going to teach you something. And he was always just saying, all right, I'm going to teach you how to build a hammock for the back of a C-130. I'm going to teach you how to rig some flotation on your M60 gear. Right. And he was just always the guy. And we spent a lot of one-on-one time when we all separated around Europe when we deployed. And he was that guy that was always there for me, like a brother. And, sadly, he was the first SEAL killed after 9/11 in Afghanistan. But I love this guy to that day. And so, yeah, he was definitely probably the most important guy to me in terms of that.
Well, it's hard to lose those mentors, and but their spirit and who they were as a person carries on in us, and how we pay it forward and how we give it to others, and how we talk about them. And joke about them and the stories. So I get that. One thing I want to ask you and roll right into, I remember we were sitting down, I think it was at Cooper's Hawk. Yeah, we were at Cooper's Hawk, and you were telling me about the warrior toughness. And the way you described it to me was, if I come over to you and I slap the crap out of you and you start getting into the whole fight or flight instinct. And I'd love that you talk about that some more and because it's such a great program, and it's add huge value to the military forces, and you think you're working with some police departments and stuff, other organizations, aren't you?
I have, yeah. Primarily, my businesses that I work with now are corporations. I find myself a lot in front of sales groups. But it's been very diverse, and I've done, it's been pharmaceuticals, it's been insurance, it's been software, sales support, just all over the map. But it leans more towards sales because, in the military or in the SEAL teams, we have, like, if you've ever heard that term, you're on the X, right? You got to get off the X. Well, that's that critical moment of execution, right? Whether you land on the rooftop of a helicopter or the enemy ambushes you as you're patrolling down the street, everything that you say, everything that you do in that moment absolutely matters in terms of succeeding, bringing home everybody alive. And so you turn up that day either ready to do that, either with the right skills, the right training to include your mental ability in order to stay focused, in order to stay composed and make good, deliberate decisions, or you don't put the time in to prepare, and bad things happen. And so the Warrior Toughness program really came about when we realized that there's a good chance that we may face near-peer competitors in open naval seas combat, the likes to which we hadn't seen since World War II. And we knew that far too long, we have been recruiting folks, telling them, well, join the Navy. You just got to be a technical, smart guy or gal. You're not going to have to be in combat. You have to be patrolling the streets in Iraq and all that. Well, all of a sudden, when missiles are hitting ships, when ships are colliding, when there's fires, that's every bit as much combat. And when you're when you're having to make decisions where you're shutting hatches on your brothers and sisters, when you got to fight your fear, fight your injuries, and return fire and bring the fight back to the enemy or save lives, you better have the right mental skills. And so that requires character development. That requires being able to perform under pressure. That requires being able to deal with the day in, day out grind of prolonged deployments or even the monotony of not a lot going on, staying focused and engaged. And so it was great being a part of that. And I've taken that and tried to translate that to lessons, right? Everybody's high stakes situations are different. And it could be a critical sales call when you're in front of or it's a really important deal, or a new manager leading a leadership meeting for the first time. And those are important moments, as well as, helping your leading from your home, helping your families, your children navigate through challenging situations. You got to be at your best. You got to be prepared. You got to be in the driver's seat and make good decisions.
I would hate to date your daughter. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find out what your leadership skill set is. Where's your head, boy?
Well, it's funny. I talk about, like, the program's called Warrior Toughness, but I can't just, like, have a call with a company and be like, bring this Navy SEAL of 27 years in and we're going to get your people tough. They're like, no. They're like, you're just going to come in here and yell at us and have us do push-ups. I mean, what I really want secretly is to make them tough
and to put a boat on their head.
Well,
and telephone poles.
It's not really that, right? It's resilience is that fuzzy term.
Yeah.
But I always like to say you can be resilient but not tough, but you can't be tough and not resilient. Now, you can go back and forth as to what the definitions, but primarily when you look in the dictionary, you see the resilience is your ability to face adversity, failure, setback, challenge, and respond back, to go back elastically to where you were. Well, to me, I need you to perform in that adverse situation in the first place. Like, it's not good enough for you to be back and okay after that. I need you to actually be effective, and I need you to perform. So I need to give you the skills, the mental skills, the right training on the front end to successfully negotiate that challenge. When
we were talking about and when those crisis moments happen, and when I remember any kind of crisis through my career, whether it was being on a ship that crashed in an oil tanker or any of the different crazy things, or we took an admin. You're talking about the point where they take regular people in the ships and they put them in these unique environments. They took me out of an admin office, said, hey, you're going to go chase these pirates off the Horn of Africa. Bye. Go and figure it out. And I think the training, the way the military does training in a lot of ways, and just conditions you, drill, and you're complaining the whole time. For us, we're complaining the whole time we're doing this training because it's hot, it's uncomfortable, it's miserable. But when that moment happens, it's eerie, scary, weird how fluid and slow and calm things can become. And it's like, whoa. And you're just kind of, I don't know if it's muscle memory or the mental conditioning. What do you think it is?
Well, one of the, I'm reading a great book called Think Like a Roman Emperor. And there's one piece in there, but where they talk about premeditation of adversity, right? In psychology, you would call that stress inoculation, right? And through our training, in many cases, when you have, at least in the SEAL teams, we play war all the time, to include getting shot by painful simunition, right? We're constantly drilling. We're trying to make it as stressful and realistic as possible, right? The sky is falling in training so that you know what that connection's like. And the first time, a lot of people have a different combat experiences may vary, right? Some people get to shoot at the enemy and it's all good to go. Well, my first combat experience, I was like, I don't think I'm getting off this rooftop alive. But I was able to separate and go back and say, you know what? I made a connection back to my training. like where I'd be on we'd be in our urban warfare training with artillery simulators and people yelling and machine guns. And it was a connection. I knew at that moment, I'm like, I don't know exactly what the hell I'm going to do next, but what I do know is that I've been well trained. And so has my sniper teammate over here. We're going to get these Army guys together. We're going to figure out what we're going to do, and we're going to get out of here. And so we did. And I think in the Navy, one of the things that we sometimes get away from on ships is we're doing training. I'm like, well, what's the training? Well, we've gone through this checklist and we've done this and that. I'm like, no, where's the training where we start to push people to the brink, where they become overwhelmed and they shut down, right? We got to get them there. And not that we want to do that in the business world, but if there are things that are stressing you out, like if you're afraid to get in front of a client, get in front of a team, there has to be some form of simulation there. There has to be some practice. You have to go through the reps. And you can also, you want to mentally rehearse those stressful situations over and over and over again until you start to get that level of confidence. And so where you're in that high stakes moment and you're able to stay composed, you're able to be fully present and think about what to do that's going to get you the results you want and not worried about what happens, the consequences.
What kind of environment, Shalom, what kind of corporate environments do you see appreciating the importance of that? Because when I look around, I was just telling Shalom at the beginning of the call, all these companies, and it lends back to their hiring practices, they don't want to hire a veteran because they're risk averse. So you're talking about all these different agents, organizations and corporations that are so risk averse. And to me, it sounds like I can't think of 3 organizations that aren't directly related to the military, police, or sales that don't appreciate that level of preparedness.
Sales, for sure. And that's a lot of the reason. That's a lot of the people that bring me in, because they relate to that, right? They relate to, hey, we've got these specific objectives. You need to be ready to be flexible, agile. You need to be able to flex from your pre-developed game plan. And you need to make sure that you're preparing for that situation. When it's done, the good organizations, the good teams, the good individuals will unpack that. They will extract the value, the lessons learned, and they will deliberately put that into how they prepare for the next time. And so sometimes, it's a matter of, like, it's not a good fit for you sometimes. Like, yeah, maybe you want this job, but if they're not going to appreciate your skill sets and it's not the good fit, then let's look to the places that do appreciate what I have. Not that I'm a military guy, but appreciate the skills that I have. And so, like in medical device sales and pharmaceutical sales, in a lot of cases, they look for those college athletes, because a lot of them are young. Like if you're competitive as at a team sport, they know that you're very competitive. They also know that you're able to collaborate with people towards a common goal. And so organizations like that lends itself to military veterans that can say, yeah, I come in here and I'm very competitive, and they're able to tell their story in the right way, where people are like, yeah, that's the kind of things that we're looking for here in this organization. And so I can't speak to what all the best organizations are, but I know that us in relative to the discussion we've just been having is when you need somebody that has to have crisis management, that has to be poised under pressure, then there's nobody better suited to that than the military folks, the veterans.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah, really. You touched on really that, how you're using your skill set, how you've used your 27 plus years of time in uniform, and how it's contributing to corporations, to folks, and you're continuing to serve, which really is the theme that we're all talking about. My closing question over here is, would you do it all over again?
100%. We all have little things we'd like to change. Certain aspects of my career didn't work out as much as I would have liked, maybe. But at the end of the day, I couldn't risk having a different experience by doing it all. By trying to. Yeah. And so I'm happy with how it worked out. It's funny because you never know, right? I graduated Navy boot camp probably about this time because all of us were all in Chicago area, right? It was a really cold winter, the winter of 92, 93, and I probably graduated right early February. It was cold as hell. Nowhere is night. We just got a bunch of snow, but I mean, it was really, really cold, snowing all the time. And I got on that bus and I'm like, there's no way in hell I am ever coming back to this place.
Dude, I said the same shit. I said the same thing. And then they said they'd send me here for my last tour. I was like,
and you know what? I had a choice. They were like, well, you can go out to do some logistical operations chief out in Coronado, or you can go to one of the Theater Special Operations Commands in Tampa, or go teach at the schoolhouse. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I actually volunteered to come up here. I picked Chicago with its winters and all over sunny California and Florida. And I don't regret the decision at all, because it's given me the predictability and the family time, but it helped me. Like the Warrior Toughness thing has just been awesome for me.
You know what, you exactly tied on what I was going to talk about with regard to, going downrange, becoming a seasoned operator at the highest levels, and then eventually, winding down your career at the dive mo. And I always describe the dive mo as like it's the place that they get the noogies before they figure out if they're going to send them to San Diego or not. and being able to look at the next generation of team guys and EOD guys and all those folks, WIC, and have an influence and be able to give them the benefit of what was probably like 20 or 25 years at the point, and kind of look over them, and not just them, but the JOs, like the Shaloms and the as a chief, and mentor those junior and senior sailors. That's a pretty great way to wind down a career, if you ask me. I mean, really just paying it forward and saying, okay, now I'm not just going to be the operator. I have a response. Did you feel like you had a responsibility to give it back and contribute?
100%. And I still do, right? I still get people that reach out to me, like usually a couple times a month, and say, hey, my nephew, my son wants to be a SEAL, and they're not sure if they want to be an officer or enlisted, right? And so I feel like I'm obligated to, and I'm very happy to have those conversations. I feel like it's my responsibility to do so. In terms of my last tour, yeah, I looked at it, the dive mo thing. I was, it was good. But it was really the Warrior Toughness where I was able to say, to use what I've learned to actually go and put it in front of other sailors and help develop them, having a greater reaching impact on the Navy at large, which I think was just it was a gift for me to be able to be in that position. So yeah, that was a great way to finish it off. And I'm always happy to mentor the next people coming up, even though I'm not in the service anymore, and translate whatever I have that is going to help people in other aspects of their life and business as well.
So what is next for you?
In Groton.
What's that?
What is next? Oh, go ahead, Angel. You're good.
Be that SEAL from Groton that grabbed you and when you're in the sub yards and kind of gave you that leg up.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And what's new for me? It looks like I've pivoted to do the virtual events. Which is still a way for me to get out there and impact people and give them some content and value, which I'm happy to do. I do, of course, look forward to at some point getting back to do the live events, because just being in front of people is what really lights me up. And so hopefully it may not really be a lot of that until 2022, but I'm ready to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Steve, when you and I connected, it was at about this time of year, last year. I was just coming back from a Army training, and then you and I we put on the calendar, I think it was 4 or 5 times we put coffee on the calendar. We never were able to do it because of COVID.
That's right. I forgot about that. You're right. And then
it's funny.
It's still in the works. So yes, that'll be a late 21, 22 goal for me.
Nice.
That's okay. I invited him over for a barbecue. He didn't make that shit either, so don't feel special, Shalom.
I love the comments that are coming in over here. We've gotten a bunch, and Steve, you're an inspiration. You're helping a lot of people.
Thank you, Jessica.
Hey, Steve, thanks a lot for everything, man. I mean, the first thing is, when I started doing my business, you said, go get a 100-foot cable of Cat 5 cable and run it from downstairs. And it looks so goofy all the way through my house. And we're laughing about it. But that's the kind of stuff we do.
You're not laughing.
Help each other out.
You wouldn't be laughing when that signal drops, right?
And you got the proposal. You're getting ready to sign. You're about to get close and ask for the money. And you.
Yeah. Ask me how I know.
Crazy.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I appreciate it always.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on. Be well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And Angel, next week, we've got a Treat in Store episode 32 with Brendan. You want to tell us about Brendan?
Yeah, Brendan O'Brien's an Air Force Academy Warthog pilot. He was a co-president with me, a Veteran Leadership Council. He works for Kin Carta. He transitioned just really well. We went to business school together, and I call him Yang, and we're yin and yang because we were co-presidents. I was the loudmouth cheerleader, and he was a super cerebral, just incredible strategist. And they don't come any better. So I'm so excited to have not just an Air Force guy on, but that Air Force guy.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm super excited for the conversations. That is next Monday. Same time, same station over here. So I didn't have a chance to say it in the beginning of the episode, but to all of our friends, lots of people tuning in, which is awesome. And I've just been watching the analytics. It's very, very exciting. Hundreds of people downloading the podcast each and every time and tuning in live. So make sure you are liking all of our pages on social media. Just search for We All Serve, easy to find. And we are available wherever your favorite podcasts are found. So make sure you click like, share, subscribe, makes it easier for people to find it, and rate us. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, and that will make it easier for other veterans, other people interested in all the leadership lessons that we're sharing, and you'll be notified when a new episode pops. So that will wrap up episode 31, episode 32. Brendan O'Brien will be joining us next week. Make sure you come back. But Angel, until then, I'll see you soon. Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
You too.